Okay then, interview questions. Where do we start? Interview questions are designed to extract relevant information about you, so the employer can establish that you're a suitable fit for the role. Remember, the interviewers do not know who you are, and they're just trying to find out more about you so they can make a decision on whether you are the best candidate to hire or not. The exact questions asked during an interview can vary, and will also vary depending on the role you're applying for. For example, a corporate leadership role versus an engineer or a data entry specialist. Let's start with more commonly asked standard questions that are going to be asked during your interview. Now, these are a bit of a cliche, and I'm sure that you're aware of them. You know the questions like, what interests you about this job? What are your reasons for leaving your current job? What are your key strengths and weaknesses? And how do you respond working under pressure? These are just a few of the many standard questions that you can expect to be asked. We need to be confident in our responses to each of these questions so that you respond confidently rather than stalling and having to create a response during the interview. So before moving on to the next lecture, take the time to review the standard interview questions document in the resource section and take the time to read all of these questions and think about what responses you can give if asked these type of questions. You may wish to jot down a few key points to help you in your pre-interview preparation that we'll be discussing later in this course. Now, the point of preparing these questions is simply to help you to have the answers front of mind for the interview. I cannot emphasize enough that I don't want you just to remember them verbatim, okay? So don't try and remember them word for word, as you're not going to come across naturally when responding to these questions. I want you just to take the time to review the document that you've written down, filled out with these ideas of answers, and what you need to do is go over it a couple of times before the interview so that you'll be more confident in how you respond. And rest assured, some of these questions will definitely be in the interview. There are endless examples of interview questions that you can find on the internet. Now that you're more aware of the most commonly asked questions, how do you know which ones to prepare for? Or what if the interviewers ask you different questions? Preparing concise and detailed responses for every possible question is not realistic, and trying to memorize your responses will not be helpful. So how do you prepare effectively and efficiently to cover most bases? Well, most interview questions simply fall into 6 categories. These include technical questions. For example, how would you create a WordPress document, or a pivot table in Excel, or create an invoice in a specific accounting software? Behavioral questions focus on how you would deal with a situation and people. Often questions relate to how you dealt with a challenging situation, for example. Tell us about a time when you dealt with an angry customer and what was the outcome? Awareness of organization. These are questions to discover what you know about their organization, which we will discuss the importance of in my next step, research. Now, motivation or career orientation. These include questions such as, why are you leaving your current role and what interests you about this role? Self-awareness. This includes things such as being aware of your own strengths and weaknesses, i.e., do you work well under stress? And finally, there's the CV information. Now, anything on your CV, be prepared to answer and elaborate on it with confidence. So in summary, being well prepared to answer questions, which, let's face it, is going to be around 80% of the interview, is going to help to greatly increase your chances of being offered the role.